Top of the morning to ya.
No, let's start over.
Alright, top of the morning to ya.
Fine. Welcome to A24 Quest, episode 13. Not that I count them.
Okay.
So we're back, and it's a new day, not quite as late this time around, and we got two new movies to talk. Well, newish. Not new at all.
No.
We got two movies to talk about, and geez, do you have any small talk to get over with, or do you want to just go right into it?
No, let's just
All right,
do
cool.
it. I'm very excited.
So this is gonna be a good episode. I don't have any major complaints about either of the movies today, so this is gonna be really interesting to listen to. So whatever. Do you want to start with Amy? Because that's what I started with myself.
Yeah, I did as well, actually.
Okay. How much do you know about Amy Winehouse? Like, how much did you know about Amy Winehouse before seeing the movie?
Alright, so this is what I knew, right? I knew she was a girl.
Right.
She did drugs and alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
and she died early.
Yeah. See, I didn't even know she died. I know nothing about Amy Winehouse. I just assumed she was just some artist that... My assumption was she was just some artist that, like, were like, oh, I'm so important, make a documentary about me. I had no clue that she died at the age of 27 from a overdose.
Yeah.
I even watching the movie, I didn't realize that. But I did, at some point halfway through the movie, I was like, while I'm like half watching, I'm gonna like Google Amy Winehouse, and I saw Death Day 2011. I was like, when was this made? 2015? Oh.
So you're like, oh, this is going to take a dark turn.
And it took a very dark turn. I was not expecting that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, my assumption all these years was Amy Winehouse was this kind of, self-important pop singer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she just went on a binge, and she ended up dying from alcohol poisoning. But it got kind of wrong. Very wrong, in fact.
I didn't even know what kind of music she did, but she's a jazz singer.
Yeah.
And pretty good one at that.
Yeah.
Personally, okay, my own personal feeling is a pet peeve of mine is when people sing and they do the thing, because it sounds really like showboaty, but that is what you do in jazz, so I'll give it a pass. And she was talented.
Yeah, she had a very, very good voice.
Yeah.
So,
like, when I first heard her sing in the movie, I was like, I don't like these types of singers, but the more I listened to it, I was like, okay, I get it. She has a style, and it is actually pretty good. Not really my kind of music, but yeah, she's pretty good.
Funny enough, I got done watching it, and I'm just like, that was a pretty good documentary. And then I went to bed, got up the next day, and I eventually got around to watching Supersonic.
Right.
So between these two documentaries, and I'm gonna do this right in the middle. Okay. Because I want to throw the formula out the window for this one.
Yeah.
Between these two documentaries, I ended up finding a lot more, interesting details in Amy than I ever cared about in Supersonic. Right. There was her entire thing where she doesn't want to become famous. She's like, if I ever did, I'd kind of go crazy.
The thing is, I prefer Amy over Supersonic, though I did actually like Supersonic more than I thought I would. I prefer Amy because it is Supersonic was, like, funded by Oasis, right? So it's very clearly got an agenda. Amy, on the other hand, was... after her death, and it's just a documentarian telling her life story, so it's a little less biased, and it's a little more... It has a point to it, whereas Supersonic doesn't really have a point to it, so I ended up enjoying Amy a little more. And the point of Amy is, she was this innocent young girl who liked singing, and she was just kind of thrust into this role as this famous singer, and the fame literally killed her.
Yeah.
Like, and she's like, we're all to blame for what happened to Amy Winehouse. And it's like, it's really, really sobering and really just savagely depressing.
Yeah,
in the end of the movie. It's like,
with her addictions and mental disorders, like, people were just ripping on her in the public eye. Like, entertainment was just tearing her apart.
yeah.
And, you know, she didn't really want that. I mean, obviously, when you get famous, you either have to deal with it or go away, essentially. But, you know, she stated from the very beginning, before she was even famous, you know, at the age of 17, 18, she's like, I don't want to be famous. I just want to sing songs. I just want to have a good time, go to small clubs and sing. And, you know, she ended up doing a good enough job that she became famous, and it literally killed her. It's kind of crazy.
And and it's kind of powerful to me, because I am, you know, I know a lot of indie artists, and a lot of us have this idea that popular culture will chew you up and spit you out, and it's like this big meat grinder, and you kind of lose your mind a little bit when you partake in it. So, and it's like, this movie's like living proof of that. Like, if you can't, if nobody can really take it, but if you're really not prepared to deal with the kind of humiliation that you're gonna face if you're a pop star who has personal problems, like, you're just gonna turn to more drugs, and you're just gonna kind of destroy your own life. And it's really, really sad that's just the cost of being in the limelight. You know, it's an interesting perspective that I've thought about for a long time. How you lose your humanity when you become that famous.
Yeah,
like, nobody respects you. You're just an object of
an icon.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, you lose yourself.
This movie's a big bummer.
Kinda, yeah.
It's just sad.
Well, because she seemed like a nice person who was just trying to make music.
Yeah.
For basically the entire movie. I mean, of course, you know, she started getting into drugs and then heavier stuff and drinking all day, every day. And it's like, yeah, that wasn't a good choice. And yeah, that was her choice. But, like, when she was even, her friends around her were telling her, you need help, we're going to put you in rehab. She said, on one condition, I'll only do it if my father says that I need to. And her dad, being the shithead he was, said, no, she's fine. And took her in. And just said, nah, she's good.
Yeah.
And then she made a song called Rehab. That's about that entire thing. That's entirely true. And it was probably, that not that it would save her, but it could have potentially helped her.
And when she went to rehab, when she finally did, she had her toxic boyfriend with her, who all he wanted to do was, like, he just wanted to keep her on it, you know.
Yeah, wasn't he still on meth at the time?
Yeah.
Or heroin or something?
And yeah, it's just a lot of people trying to control her and whatnot, and you know, that's like all you can do is give into that kind of thing if you're way in over your head like she was, and then, you know, it just ended badly.
Yeah, which is very sad. You know, I'm kind of actually bummed that she died so young.
Yeah.
I'll be getting into this in the actual episode, but I ended up listening to quite a good chunk of Amy Winehouse and Oasis after the fact, just to get a better sense of kind of their music and what they decided to do other than what was put into the movies.
Yeah.
And I liked 60-40 percentage of what I listened to.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, decent, especially considering I thought I wouldn't like it at all. You know, there was some very interesting things that I think she was doing that nobody else was or is doing. And I'm kind of bummed out about it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's just a shocking, kind of heartbreaking thing. You know, it's like by the end of the documentary, I was just so engrossed because I was, like, invested. and it's like, man, it's just harsh.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then I watched Oasis.
Yeah,
Supersonic.
Supersonic, which is kind of the polar opposite. But also, there's a lot of connecting thread between these two movies. A lot of similar things. They're both British bands. One of them from the early 2000s. One of them or mid 2000s. One of them from the mid 90s. British artists who did a lot of drugs. And both feature a very toxic father figure, or actual father, in both movies.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, well, okay.
but Supersonic's got a happy ending, and Amy does not.
Yeah. So the thing about Oasis, if you don't know, the two brothers that are in the band,
Noel and Liam,
hate each other.
right?
Well, more like one really hates the other, and the other one's like, I like him. He's a shithead, but I like him.
Mm.
You know, that kind of relationship.
Mm.
And so they would just get into like fights on stage. Like that's just what they do. They were always angry at each other, you know. And it's just one of those things where it's like not a great environment, but they ended up working well together as a band in the end, and they made music.
Yeah. I learned some things about Oasis that I didn't before. Background for me, I was really into Oasis for a time. Early high school, I was super into Oasis. But what I didn't understand about Oasis was that they, as a group, epitomized the concept of punk, despite not really being a punk band.
Yeah.
This is like the most degenerate group of people imaginable.
They're all just shitheads.
they get unbelievably high, and they like wreck hotel rooms, and they get into fights, and they get in trouble with the police.
Yeah.
And they just go to gigs, and they just cause havoc, and when they in interviews, they're just trying to stir up trouble, and it's like, I didn't realize Oasis had this image. But it was interesting to learn about. There's a particular segment where they say they had a show in a few hours, and they snorted a lot of what they learned to be crystal meth. They thought it was coke, but it turned out to be meth. And there's my favorite thing about Supersonic was all the concert footage was pretty sweet, because they talked about this event, and then they went on stage, and it was just a disaster. And there's actual, like footage of this happening. It's kind of low quality, but it's like audience footage, but it was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell how high they are. You can just tell they're just not in it. And ultimately, this is less of a coherent story. I mean, it is kind of a story, but it's more of a concert movie. There's a lot of concert footage.
It's mainly just it's a lot of retelling of kind of Oasis's journey through becoming a bigger band.
Yeah, and they tell it through the medium of like showing concerts and explaining the context to what was happening when this concert happened.
And like just kind of how they got into bigger gigs, and then they'd show that gig, and then they'd show, and then we got into this gig in Amsterdam. We were supposed to take a ferry, and we started a fight on a boat, and
got sent to prison.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean,
and hearing them describe, and I will say, Supersonic is a super well put together documentary. Like, the pace of the editing and hearing them all tell their side of the story, it like paints this picture of what really happened. And it was particularly great when they're describing what happened on the ferry, because it's like illustrating what they're saying, and like it's just going from person to person. They're just like, then this happened, and I didn't see him after this, and then it comes to somebody else, but he was over here. And I really liked that sequence, the ferry chase sequence. And they're like, it looked a little bit like Benny Hill for a while. And I was like, oh yeah.
But I mean, just like, as far as the people involved, I don't think I'm a fan of Oasis
of those
as people.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I used to listen to their music a little bit, Like, I knew a couple of them, and they were okay. Never been a huge fan.
Oh yeah, I was really into Oasis at a time, and it says something that I preferred Amy to Supersonic, because Supersonic didn't, like I said, it didn't really have a point to it. It was just kind of like, wow, Oasis was such a great band, and it kind of sullied the experience a bit when I saw at the end executive produced by Liam Gallagher or something like that. I was like, oh, okay. So there's just something dirty about a movie being put out that's about how great Oasis is, and you turned out it was funded by the front man of Oasis. So
yeah,
I forget if it was Liam that did it or Noel, one of the Gallaghers. I think it was Liam, and they all had interviews in there as well. So it's so whether or not you like the people, it's a well put together film, and it's an interesting look and really intimate, comprehensive look of how they came to be as a group. So
yeah, it was
really well done. Interesting if you like Oasis, but if you're not a fan of Oasis, this movie's not gonna like win you over. It's definitely you're not gonna like it if you don't really like Oasis.
Yeah, that's a fair it's a fair statement. So in the end,
yeah,
what would you say?
Which is the better movie?
Yeah,
Amy.
Yep,
Unquestionably.
there you go. Fun times.
Oh jeez. Oh, I just unplugged my laptop. Oh well. Oh well, it's okay. I don't need it. Oh,
Okay.
it's back. Okay, never mind.
What?
All
right.
Amy, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I really liked Amy. I thought it was very good. I think as far as people go, like I liked watching her way more. She was way more, charming and charismatic and interesting than anybody in the entire band of Oasis ever.
Yeah. I just, and like I said, I love a documentary that's got it's got a point to it, and it's got a good story to tell. Just concert footage documentaries that don't really have a point. They're just kind of like, oh, telling the story of this band. It's like, it's good, but it just doesn't interest me as much.
Yeah. Well, and like, there are so many more interesting bands that have those types of documentaries done.
Yeah, and this actually made me want to go seek those out, because I'm not a kind of person that really watches them. There's one about the Eagles that I'd really like to see.
Definitely. I really want to see that one too. Eagles, Tom Petty, and Twisted Sister are three music documentaries I've been really wanting to see lately. Apparently, there's a podcast out there with Joe Walsh that's supposed to be amazing as well.
There's a Death Grips documentary that I watched a while ago, and it's actually not good, because all it is like, I think the purpose of that documentary is to like expose people to what Death Grips is all about. But at the time I saw it, I already knew what Death Grips was all about, so I was like, okay, this is just concert footage edited together in a weird way.
Alright.
So I was like, whatever.
Are you saying I should watch it?
Yeah, totally.
I'm not gonna watch it.
That's a shame, because in the episode proper today, I'm going to tell you about a Death Grips album, and I'm gonna tell you that you're probably actually gonna like it. So check out our podcast to hear Josh weasel out of listening to it.
Weasel out? No, I'm just gonna flat out say no. I'm not doing that.
Okay.
There's no need to weasel out if I'm
That's
just
fair.
gonna be
That's
like, no,
fair.
it's not
That's
happening.
fair.
It's a brick wall, man.
Anyway, well, let's end this off with our movies for next week.
Yeah.
You know what was interesting about this week? I really liked both movies, and they're both like really solid movies, but that made the discussion quicker and less interesting.
Yeah.
They're just good movies. Amy won this week, but go watch both of them. So I hope we get something really bad next week.
I'm really hoping we don't, because I'm excited for next week's movies.
Yeah, me too.
So we're watching End of the Tour, which is the Jason Segel and Jesse Eisenberg one. And we are also going to watch Slice, which is that new movie that came out.
And this is Josh's pick, for the record.
Yeah.
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
Oh my god, God.
Sorry, I drank a LaCroix. Not a LaCroix. It's actually a knockoff.
Oh my god, what is this?
It's V grapefruit.
V.
So, end of the tour. Which is that about? Bands? Is that a musical kind of movie? Not musical as in is it a musical, but is it about music?
I don't know. Like, it's just Jesse Eisenberg following around Jason Segel, who looks like a hippie.
Oh, okay. That sounds like my kind of movie, though.
Yeah, me too.
Super pumped for this next week.
Yeah, it should be good. I'm actually really excited.
And
You know, hopefully we'll have a lot.
You.
You just did the Jedi?
No, I didn't. You can't prove it.
Are you trying to...
I said, and so are you while doing the Jedi mind track thing. Mind track. Let's just get the podcast recorded already.
Oh my god.
I'm just done.
Alright.
Okay, hope you enjoyed this episode.
Go watch Amy.
Yep.
And Supersonic if you like Oasis.
Absolutely.
But watch Amy first.
Yeah, do that.
Or don't.
Maybe don't, cause end the night out with Amy, because you're gonna like be really bummed going into Supersonic.
It's true. Yeah, I think that's about it though.
Yeah, episode over.
Catch you next week.
Where we slice each other.
What?